and welcome to my channel of relationships and what that looks like. We're going to be talking about recovering from the end of relationships. We're going to be having some healthy conversation on historical trauma, healthy conversation on community trauma, healthy conversations on what it is like to live in our skin, and we're going to talk about how to live unapologetically. We're going to talk about how to live bravely, and it is going to be a nice time. Okay, so before we start talking about some of the more detailed and intricate things that will be a part of this channel, I think it's only right if I introduce you to who I am, right? And so I was born on the beautiful island of Puerto Rico. Spanish is my first language. I am the daughter of two Afro-Boricuas. I am the daughter of two intelligent Afro-Boricuas that did their very best to make sure that I had a good life. I got married young. I got married when I was 20 years old, and I was smitten with my ex-husband. And then throughout the course of my being in school, so I had graduated with my associates, and then I took some time off to be mom, and I was a stay-at-home mom. I was like, went back to school because I felt like my brain was shrinking. I was only interacting with toddlers and infants, and so I felt like I wasn't rising to the occasion. I wasn't being challenged. I wasn't giving the world what I felt like I had to offer. I was only with my toddlers, and not to say that being with my toddlers and my infant wasn't fulfilling, because it was. I am very happy over having done and doing the mom thing. Being a mom is the most important occupation that I have, but being a mom is not all that I am. Being a mom is not the culmination of who Karen is. And so I felt like I wanted to do more with my time. And so I decided that I was going to look for work, and my ex-husband wasn't letting me work. He wasn't letting me apply to jobs. When I would apply, he wasn't supportive of my going on interviews. When I did go on interviews, he wasn't supportive of my accepting the positions that I had been offered. And so I started to feel really weird about that. But I didn't have a name to put to the experience. I didn't know what it was that I was feeling. I just knew that something wasn't right. And then he lost his job. And he lost his job and decided that what he wanted to do was stay home with me while I was unable to work. And I kept getting pregnant. And so I can chuckle about it now, but at the time it was awful. And so I didn't understand what was going on. And so I decided to look for, if I couldn't get a job, then I was going to go for a volunteer opportunity. And so there was this agency that was looking for, at the time they were called Rape Crisis Advocates, and they were people that would be with survivors of sexual violence or survivors of rape during the either interview portion with law enforcement or the seeking of evidence or the collection of evidence during the kits. So while the kits are getting collected, or doing some advocacy work within the community where you are reaching people that potentially have experienced sexual violence and had not been um, provided with support, and maybe they were living with their pain in silence. And so that was a very impactful opportunity for me. So I applied, I got a call back, and I went on the interview. They loved me at the interview, and they asked me to join them to do the training. And that was the beginning of the rest of my life. In that training, I learned so much. In that training, I learned that I was in a violent relationship. I learned that although my ex husband had never put a hand on me, physical violence, he had never punched me, kicked me, hurt me physically, I was very much living in a violent relationship. And that training sparked my healing because it raised the awareness that I had in what I was experiencing. And since I had already experienced sexual violence and I identified as a survivor of sexual violence, that part was already clear for me. But understanding that I was currently in a violent relationship for me was what I needed to start healing. And so at that point, I broke free. It was a long and arduous road, but at that point, I did break free and I sought safety and I sought recovery and I sought healing. And 10 years later, my life was drastically different and a lot healthier. I share this because in my work to break free from that relationship and in doing what needed to be done to be healthy and to hold my ex-husband accountable and to follow the letter of the law, I couldn't afford an attorney, and so I started doing my own legal work. And so I worked on my own stuff pro se. I did my own divorce documents pro se. I did my own divorce filing pro se. Pro se means, for yourself or on your own, or you're doing it. Consult with an attorney. If you cannot find an attorney or if you cannot afford an attorney, then do your very best to do your homework and perhaps you'll be successful if you are able to understand all of the nuances within the law. If you can work with a divorce coach, I am now a divorce coach, and I work with people that are looking to break free from their relationships, even if their relationships weren't unhealthy, even if their relationships weren't toxic, and even if their relationships aren't abusive. I still work with people that want to end their relationships and go a different route. That's what I do as a divorce coach. I also facilitate workshops on understanding gender-based violence. I also facilitate workshops on understanding what domestic violence is, sexual violence, human trafficking, and stalking specifically. I also facilitate workshops diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. And I facilitate workshops on understanding the historical context of gender-based violence and why it looks the way that it does. Thank you so much for joining me. This is exciting. I want to thank you all for being a part of my very first YouTube video. See you soon.